right. Well, I don't know if there's a lot of other people who are going to show up or not, but I'm going to get started. Obviously, we're starting a little bit late as per the email I at least tried to send. I hope that it went through to everyone. And in the future, if like college is delayed, normally we'll start pretty close to on time, but just a little bit afterwards because when college is delayed, I'm technically not supposed to be here until 10 o'clock. And by the time I get here, get everything ordered, it's usually a little bit later than the start time of the class. So that's what we'll do. Because we have so many people missing, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delay this 3233 homework, and I'll delay that until next week. So next week, Friday, let's do the 3031. We already covered all of that stuff on, well, Tuesday. So that'll still be due this Friday. And what I'll do instead is I'll finish off the central tendency section, and then we'll start spread measures next time, okay? So it'll be a very, very short class, just because I know a lot of people left here. They must, either the email that I sent didn't go through, or people didn't check it, one of the two, so we'll do that. But I don't feel bad finishing that central tendency section. It's only going to take a few minutes to do. So last time, what we did is we calculated central tendencies. And there are more central tendencies than just these three. There are other measures of the center of the set, but these three are probably the most often cited measures of central tendency: the mean, the median, and the mode. And so we saw what each one of those are, and then we calculated that with a few data sets. Now, I haven't said this explicitly yet, but you'll notice the data sets that we're using are fairly small. Okay, there is a reason for that. If your data sets get really, really big, you're not gonna calculate central tendencies in the way we've been doing it, by typing all those numbers in on your calculator. In reality, when data sets get really, really big, what we do is we put those data sets into some sort of a program, like Excel or something like that, and we let Excel do the work. And if we have time, I'll talk about some of the things you can do with Excel or some other statistical software next week. So we might take a look at those things next week. Doing some stats with Excel. It's pretty easy, you just have to know what to type in. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's all. So here's the part we haven't done yet. So we've done a lot of the calculations, but what we haven't done is manipulate a data set. And that's really what this next example is going to be. Let's say I have a set with 3 elements in it: a 2, a 5, and an unknown value, which I'll call x. Now, by the way, just because I've listed it 2, 5, and then x doesn't mean x is bigger than 5. X could be any number. It could be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It could be, 14.8 or negative 12.1. So just because we listed it there in the data set doesn't necessarily imply it's bigger than 5 or anything like that. Okay. So the question is, if I had the data set, what could I make that value? So that the average is 4. And then what could we make that value so that the median is 4? All right. Let's start with the average, the mean. If I want the mean to be 4, what does that mean by a 3-value set? That means I'm going to add up 2 and 5 and x, then divide by 3, and that's how we get 4. Now, something I hope we've done, hopefully I'll rewrite this. Hopefully you all have cleared fractions before or cleared denominators. If not, you just say, well, the denominator of 3 can be undone by multiplying the left-hand side by 3. And if I multiply the left-hand side by 3, I also need to multiply the right-hand side by 3 so that my equation is equivalent. So I clear that denominator by multiplying both sides by 3. This 3 and this 3 cancel out on the left-hand side. And we end up with 2 plus 5 plus x has to be 12. This is a linear equation that we can solve. 2 plus 5 is 7. And then I would subtract 7 on both sides. And that means if I want an average of 4, I need to make x equal to 5. By the way, this is a technique that you might think, well, when would I use that? Well, maybe at the end of the semester, you'll say, well, I want my grade to be 93%, so I get an A. What do I need to get on the final in order to get a 93% in the class, right? It's that same calculation because your final grade is 4 tests plus 100 points worth of homework. So if you know the first 3 tests and you know your homework grade, then you can figure out what you need to get on the final in order to get an A in the class or whatever you're looking for. It's the same technique. Now let's take a look at the median. Now the median is not a nice equation calculation. The median we find through more logical assumptions. If I want the median to be 4, and I already have the numbers 2 and 5, well, I know that 4 is in the middle. In order to have a median of 4, I need the 4 to be the middle number. And therefore, the only option I have is to make x 4, so that it's the middle number numerically. So if you want the median to be 4, then x would have to be 4. And that's all you're saying there. Yeah, again, the same data set, 2, 5x. Notice again, just because x is written as the third number in our set doesn't mean x is bigger than 5. And if x wasn't written in the middle of the set, it doesn't mean x is between 2 and 5. And if x is at the beginning of the set, it doesn't mean it's below 2. All right. X could be any number that we wanted. Now let's do the same set. And I want you to figure out, how could you, in this exact same set, 2, 5x, make it so that the average of the set is 8? And what could you make x so that the median of the set is 8? So average being 8, median being 8. Again, try this one on your own. All right, let me do these calculations. So the first thing, the set 2, 5x, if I want the average to be 8, I'm going to add up 2 plus 5 plus x, then divide by 3 and get an 8. And I'm going to do the exact same process I did last time. This time I just won't write. I'm going to multiply both sides by the 3. That'll cancel out this denominator on the left. I'll get 2 plus 5 plus x is equal to 24. Again, 2 and 5 added together give me a 7. So 7 plus x equals 24. And then I would subtract 7 from both sides. Again, this is just standard solving an equation, which is a linear equation. What is that? 17, right? Yeah. So you can make the average 8 on that set as long as you make x big enough. X is 17. All right with that? That's pretty easy. Now, on the other hand, if I want to make the median of 8, 8 falls out here. 8 falls to the right of 5. If I let x be 8, 8's not going to be the median. In fact, if I let x be any number that's bigger than 5, 5 is going to be the median. So, if x is bigger than 5, if x bigger than 5, then 5 is the median. But if x is smaller than 5, then the median is going to be below 5. It's that way. So if x is bigger than 5, then 5 is the median. If x is smaller than 5, then the median is going to be below 5. Notice that that means the median is always 5 or below. All right? No matter what value you put as x, the median is always 5 or below. And therefore, there's no x that makes the median 8. On Moodle, I believe, like in the blank, you'd have to write none or something to that effect. N-O-N-E. That makes sense? So if you make the x above 5, then the median becomes 5. If you make it smaller than 5, then the median is going to be smaller than 5. So the median always has to be 5 or below in this case. Just so that we know, numerically, there are certain scenarios in which it's impossible to get a median. However, averages, we can always solve this equation. We might get some pretty big x's or some pretty small x's. You might get negative numbers for your x's, but you can always solve that equation for your x, no matter what average you're given. All right, I want you to try one more of these. We're gonna do an average that's 6 and a median that's 6, but this time on a different set. The set 816x. We want a mean that's 6, and a median that's 6. What's that? Alright. Let's do it. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. We want to make x some number so that the average is 6. In order to calculate the average, we add up the 4 numbers in our set and then divide by 4. And we want that average to be 6. Just like last time, the first thing I want to do is get rid of that 4. So I got to multiply both sides by the number 4. The 4's on the left-hand side, the 4 that I multiply, and the 4 in the denominator cancel each other out. And I get 8 plus 1 plus 6 plus x. And on the right-hand side, I end up with a 24. 6 times 4 is 24. When I do 8 plus 1 plus 6, that gives me 15. So I get 15 plus x is equal to 24. And then I can subtract 15 from both sides. And that gives me an x which is equal to 9. All right. X equals 9 is the final answer. So if you make X 9, then the average of this set is 6. What can we make X so that the median is 6? Well, I'm going to list out the numbers in order. If I want to make the median 6, I need to make the middle number 6. Well, because we have an even number of things, that means the other number, which is 6 in this case, together with the X, are going to have to be averaged to give me a 6. Which in this case, it's pretty easy to see. You want to make that X equals 6 there. That way, when we look at the median, remember if there was an even number of elements in our set, then the median is found by taking the average of the two middle numbers. In this case, it's really easy to take the average of 6 and 6 and get 6. Therefore, the answer to this is in order to make the median 6, let X be equal to 6. That work? In this case. All right, so that's how we find missing values in a data set. All right, and like I said, this is similar to asking, how many points do I need to score on the final in order to get it 93% in the class? Okay, you figure out what 93%, how many points that is. And then see how many points you score and see how far you are away. Right? That kind of analysis. All right. Now, normally I would go on to the next thing of spread measures, but again, like I said at the beginning, most people probably either didn't get my email or people didn't get it or they didn't check their emails. Because of the delay in start, a bunch of people have left before I got in here. So I am going to stop there and we'll deal with spread measures next class period. So we'll stop a little bit early because of that, okay? And then just to reiterate, this homework 3233, I will delay that until next 3031 is still due this Friday. That work? Good. All right, well, I'll see you next week.